Hi and welcome to Jems Beads. My name is Jem and today we're talking Walmart pastel box. Let's have a look and see all the glorious beads we can find in here. Look at all the colours and shapes and finishes in this pastel box. Jems Beads at Walmart is just such a festival of fun. Let's make some stacking bracelets together. So I'm going to add in around about 6 inches of 18 gauge round wire. This is a medium temper copper colour wire. You can use whatever colour takes your fancy. So let's start off by giving that wire a quick warm, and about 1.5 inches from one end I'm going to turn a right angle bend, and I'm going to start then by utilising my bow making pliers on the number 3. You could use any round form or your round nose pliers if you prefer. What we're going to do is to pop a wrapped loop up at one end. So start by rotating that first half of the circular form, then bring that tail all the way around. We're looking for that round form to be stuck centrally on the end, so if it's not quite there you can just move that until it is. Now because we've got a little bit of a tail there, I'm going to wrap that round a good 4 times on the neck. I'm going to pinch quite firmly on that round form to make sure that that doesn't get shrunk down as I'm twisting that wire around the core. Now it's one of the reasons that you really should be warming your wire before you work it, because it will behave so much more nicely for you. So I've got 4 wraps on that nice core wire, the core being the wire that's going to go through the middle of that bead. Now I put my thumb over the top just to stop the wire from pinging up and hitting my camera. You obviously observe best safety. Let's rotate those pliers around to smooth down the end of the wire just here, so that's not sticking up in any way. What I'm not doing is pulling very hard at this stage. It's just a gentle rotation all the way around just to soften that end. If you pull really hard or press really firmly as you twist, you'll change the shape of that loop on the end. So let's just give that wire another quick smooth warm through and pop that bead into the center. Now if you can judge the distance between where the bead is and where the angle changes to become that loop, we want to do the same on the other side. So if I just twist that sideways and pop my pliers over, I'm going to estimate that that's the same kind of distance before pushing the wire away again. And if you have a quick look, if I drop that down to the board for a moment, the circular form, the wrapped loop, is the same orientation as the desk. It's flat to the desk, so I want my angle change here also to be flat to the desk. Let's grab those bow making pliers back in, or whatever round form you're using, and I'm going to make a second wrapped loop. So I'll rotate that wire around, opening and closing those pliers as I go until I get a lovely rounded form on the end there. Bring that tail of wire all the way over the top. Now we will have a little bit of wire left over. Don't throw it away, pop it in your scrap pot. I've always got little scraps like this. Keep that for later on. You could make yourself some spirals or something to decorate the bottom of a pair of earrings. So let's hold across that round form. Now when I'm gripping across the round form here, I'm not crushing down where the wire crosses over. I'm just holding very firmly across the round section as I bring that tail of wire around to fill the gap. And I'm looking to have the same number of turns on both sides. So visibly at the moment I can see 4 wraps to the left and 4 wraps to the right. So that works for me. If that's a little bit loose, you can very gently just tighten that up. But what we don't want to do is to scratch your lovely beads. Let's flip that over and trim away. And again, that's a useful length of wire. Don't throw it away, hold on to that for later. Now what we're going to do is to just make sure that that end bit, the bit that we just trimmed away, is snuggled down against the bead. So I'm just going to hold my thumbnail against the bead and squash that down flat so that it sits on the core really smoothly. There's no sticky uppy bits. Let's just pop that down for a second. Would you like to see what we're going to make? How about some stacking bracelets? So you could use whichever colourway from the bead strands, and there are many to choose from. I went for classic elegant black in a 4-strand pack, and I've chosen to use the smallest one. Now you could use whichever size you wanted, whichever colour you wanted. I just think they look really charming in that black colourway against our lovely pastels that we're working with today. I'm going to add in another length of wire now. This is around about 5 inches of 22 gauge. This is a copper wire. It's a medium temper. I think actually this is a raw copper because I didn't have any copper colour available. Now I don't want to overly warm that, so just 2 or 3 times to make it smooth and ready to work. And we're going to start by pressing around about 1.5 inches over the top, just next to that central bead. I'm just going to hold on to that with my non-dominant hand, and I'm going to use my dominant hand to bring that 1.5 inch tail and wrap it around that coil that we created a second ago. So draw that over the top and around, and I'm pulling firmly to get a lovely tidy wrap around the top, like so, until that's tidied away. You may be left with a little bit, you may have not quite enough to go to the end. Doesn't matter, as long as they're nice and neat and tidy wraps over the top of that first wrapped loop that we created. What we're going to do now is to add on some beads. So I have got my little cut strand just here, and because I'm not great at putting beads onto wire, I'm going to try grip 5 and slide them on. Let's see. Well, 4 out of 5's not bad. So let's just add on another couple of beads until we've got enough to circle around that beautiful centre. Now I'm being very, very soft and gentle, just pulling that into position, and I think the addition of one more bead will make that really, really lovely. So let's add one more from our strand. They make such a lovely noise, glass faceted beads. Pop that on the end of that finer wire, and then we're going to see how that looks. So you can just draw the beads, the smaller bead, just slightly away from that coiling if it makes the whole thing look a little bit nicer. I think that's a really attractive halo of beads, just like so. So what I'm going to do now is to take the finer gauge wire. You can see it starts on top of my core wire here, all the way around the edge of the bead, and I'm taking it back over the top of the core wire on the other side of that central feature. So I've got wrapped loop, double wrapped core, central bead, and we're going to double wrap on the far side as well. So just firmly hold that into position and try to get that finer 22 gauge wire against that central bead, draw it around and underneath, and then bring it up as close as you can possibly get it to the previous pass of that finer gauge wire. I'm just going to rotate that around until I've filled the space. Let's take that to the rear side of the design and just trim that away. Pop it into the scrap pot, and then make sure that that end of wire is smoothed down against the double wrap. All you will need to do then is to add in your choice of clasp, little jump rings and some chain. There we go. So I shall add some chain on, I'll add my clasp, I've got a couple of little jump rings there, and we will have made ourselves a very effective stacking bracelet. With how many more to go? Dozens and dozens more available. What a beautiful Walmart pastel bead box from Jems Beads. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.